The following program is produced by students of the Brian Lamb School of Communication at Purdue University.
On this week's edition of Fast Track, we'll meet an engineering student turned entrepreneur and hear about a program that will advance science and research.
We'll also take a trip to a boutique on campus and meet the stars from a famous 90s TV show and hear about how Purdue is planning to help with breast cancer research.
We'll find out about diversity on campus and take a look at Purdue's half marathon.
Welcome back to Fast Track. We're bringing you this week's show from the Engineering Fountain. I'm Katherine Ducharme.
And I'm Ellie Thalls.
An engineering student created a new key-sized gadget with multiple purpose. The new tool is named Atom. Reporter Ming-Jen Sui sat down with the creator of the tool to talk about the process and how he transformed himself from engineer to entrepreneur.
In my hand is a tiny key-sized tool created by a biomedical engineer. What is the bigger story behind this tiny gadget? How did an engineer become an entrepreneur? Well, today we're going to find out more.
I designed Atom through just a very simple series of steps where you start with a sketch of the design to kind of lay out the features of the product. And then from there you can design it in a really simple 3D modeling software like Google SketchUp, for example. And then with that you can actually print out or 3D print a prototype out of plastic, so it gives you a great representation of what the product would look like.
Sean Connell started a campaign on a crowdsourcing website, and the small gadget turned out to be a big thing on the internet.
For the Kickstarter campaign, I needed to raise $40,000 in order to cover the cost of manufacturing the product. So in the first 10 days, I was able to reach that funding goal, and then in the end, I ultimately raised $83,000, which was about 207% of what I needed.
Compared to other bulky tools, Atom, a tool for multi-purpose, is convenient for taking around. However, the neat design does not come out of nothing overnight.
It started becoming this multi-tool wallet, and it was really convoluted and confusing. And when I showed it to people, I got really negative feedback, and they said that you should lose some of these features and focus just on the multi-tool aspect of it. And as I started showing these designs to friends and family members, I got some good feedback, and one of them actually suggested that you make a pink version that appeals to women and then use some of the profit from that to actually donate it for breast cancer research.
Kickstarter marks Sean's turning from an engineer into an entrepreneur. For Purdue students, crowdsourcing website may be a start of business.
I did a significant amount of research on Kickstarter itself, not only the business model that Kickstarter was offering, but also on some of the other products similar to the multi-tool I designed that were on Kickstarter already. And that gave me a sense of what was successful, what worked and what didn't work, and also prepared me to launch a more successful Kickstarter campaign.
Traditional financing routes, you have to create extensive plans. You have probably a very low probability of people buying into your idea, and it takes many, many months to raise money often for new ventures. So I think it's kind of a democratization of funding for entrepreneurship. I think you get a lot of good feedback. You put something out there and you can get feedback on your product right away. It's just a great way to test the waters, and if it works, you can always go for those additional sources of funding.
More interestingly, Sean's collaborations with others on this project are mostly through emails.
What's interesting is because a lot of the help I got has been completely virtual. So for example, the person I hired on Elance has been completely communication through emails. I've never met the man. And I also relied on a lot of other people. For example, I hired an industrial design student here on Purdue's campus in order to help me kind of sketch out the final design in order to show that to people and kind of represent the concept of the multi-tool.
I sent an email to the head of our department, and he ended up sending a mass email to all of the students in industrial design, I think just the sophomores, juniors, and seniors. I sent him my portfolio, first of all, and he said that he liked the sketchwork that I had in it, and so we set up a meeting to talk about the project.
And Sean said he's starting another online business with his sister.
As we were walking around her house, we saw this fruit fly trap that she had made that was basically just a bowl of dead flies. So we got to talking and designed actually a more minimalistic and cleaner looking fruit fly trap. And so we're going to take it through the very same process we did with the multi-tool, where We started with very basic sketches, worked with some people on Elance to design the actual model, and then 3D printed some prototypes, and then finally we'll take it to Kickstarter to mass produce it. Anyone can go out and design a product. You don't necessarily have to have the specific skill sets from start to finish. You can rely on other people's expertise.
明建崔 reporting for Fast Track.
Earlier this year, many university and college presidents signed the Innovation Deficit Petition to request more federal funding from the government that would go towards science and research. Fast Track reporter Lauren Webster finds out why funding for innovation is so important for Purdue and other universities around the country.
Earlier this semester, a controversy rocked the research side of Purdue's campus when President Mitch Daniels initially refused to sign the Innovation Deficit Petition. Despite the hundreds of other universities putting their names on the letter to request more money from the government for research, Purdue was left out, and faculty members were less than pleased.
It suggested that he didn't share that same concern about America's scientific leadership. It suggested that he didn't realize the importance of federal support for the research that goes on at Purdue University, and that he didn't understand the effect that it would have on the research opportunities for our students here.
A number of us professors in the university were disappointed that he hadn't signed, and we wrote accordingly in various ways.
Innovation is a huge part of what it means to be at Purdue, from our nanotech labs to entrepreneurial centers. And these federal cuts won't just affect faculty and researchers, but students as well. Given this, many wondered why President Daniels wouldn't sign.
My understanding from his response to us was that he was concerned that the bigger picture of spending was not being addressed. He subsequently found out that there had been significant discussions and some documents identifying the fact that we really that the university presidents had addressed that issue, and he decided to sign.
President Daniels isn't the only one worried about spending. This drop in federal dollars for research comes from the recent sequester, which calls for more discretionary spending. However, while the country is trying to save money, there could be serious consequences.
The Congressional Budget Office estimated that due to the sequester, our growth this year is going to be cut from about 2% to about 1.4%. Okay, so it's a big hit. We're talking about 750,000 jobs, give or take, that will be affected through the sequester.
Ultimately, President Daniels did sign, along with the countless other university and college presidents across the United States. While there will be no direct response from the government, many are hopeful this petition will encourage Congress to place more funding into science and research.
Well, I think the optimal would be to stop the sequestration, to get a reasonable budget infrastructure, and ideally even give back some of the money that's been withheld this year.
The United States is in competition with other countries for leadership in the science and technology and engineering fields. And so in order to maintain that leadership, which is really the economic engine for the United States, we have to have an investment in innovation. And a large part of that investment actually comes from the federal government.
As we start to reduce our investment in higher education, in research and development, we will start to slide down. And once you go down, it's a slippery slope. And we are now already 12th in the world in terms of college degrees. Well, that's not good. So we have to pay attention to these things.
College presidents across the nation hope that this petition will bring more federal dollars back to science and research. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Lauren Westberg.
Coming up, we'll hear from our sports reporter and take a look at the history of a popular boutique on campus.
We'll also meet the stars from Gullah Island. It's all coming up next on Fast Track.
I am an American.
I am an American. I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
That's the way most of us put it, just matter of factly.
They're plain words, those four. You could write them on your thumbnail
or sweep them across a bright autumn sky.
But remember too that they are more than just words.
They are a way of life.
So whenever you speak them firmly.
Speak them proudly.
Speak them gratefully. I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
We are all Boilermakers, but we're also much more. We're history makers, exploring the farthest reaches of our universe, often when strapped to a rocket. We are hope makers, rebuilders of Haitian cityscapes who ensure they'll now withstand any disaster. We are difference makers, developers of drought-resistant crops that just might end world hunger. The fact is, what we make moves the world forward. We are Purdue, makers all.
Welcome back to Fast Track. Our very own sports reporter John Rawlings is here to give us a rundown on professional sports.
Thank you, Catherine. Well, some of you may be trying to forget this weekend, while others are trying to bask in the big win. Yes, the Bears did lose this weekend, but unfortunately, so did my Lions. And of course, it just had to be to those pesky Packers. Regardless, the Colts did win and looked to be a contender for the AFC Championship. The Bears knew they had a tough game against New Orleans. As we all know, Drew Brees is a great quarterback. The combination of him and Jimmy Graham is fun to watch, unless they're coming up with big plays against your team. The Bears' defense did not limit the tandem. However, I would not be too worried. The team has found a sudden resurgence with Alshon Jeffrey. Jeffrey had 10 receptions for a franchise record of 218 yards. Now that the Bears have another threat besides Brandon Marshall and Matt Forte, opposing defenses could be facing trouble. As for the Colts, they gave the Seahawks their first loss of the season. Andrew Luck's late rally in the fourth quarter was very impressive to watch. Luck is continuing to impress me more and more, and Colts fans out there should be excited. But with all the good news comes the bad news. Ahmad Bradshaw is out for the season with his recent neck injury, so it looks like the pickup of Trent Richardson could not have come at a better time. I believe their running game will be fine, but we will be watching Donald Brown get some playing time. Both teams are in action this week, but not in their normal Sunday time slot. The Bears look to snap their two-game losing streak against the 0-5 Giants Thursday, and the Colts will battle Phillip Rivers and the Chargers on Monday night. Back to you guys.
For shopping at Purdue, Colette Boutique seems to be the most popular among women. With its bohemian style of clothing and city life atmosphere, this boutique has won over students' hearts. However, how the store came to be on campus is another hidden story in itself that will endear you to this beautifully chic store even more. Jenny Strauch has more on the story.
Colette, a fashion-forward, free-spirited boutique that has grown in popularity since its arrival to Purdue. Winner of the Best Women's Boutique in West Lafayette, this trendy store has quickly become the go-to place for women to shop on campus.
I come here every single day because I'm a stress shopper. I buy literally everything, and college is stressful, so I always pass by here because Gray House is like my hangout. I study there, I do everything, and I'm always passing by here and like looking in the windows, so I stop here every single day.
Oh, definitely, because especially for me and Maddie, we don't have a car, we're freshmen. So this right here is oh my gosh, it's like we can go to the mall.
I think she knows my name by now because I'm here so much and she knows it.
Colette is a boutique that we try to get styles from different things that you wouldn't find normally in West Lafayette, kind of different city styles and trendy things that you probably wouldn't find at the mall, or just to try to be a different place on campus that girls can really find cute things to wear.
In less than 2 years, Colette Boutique has grown tremendously. However, with this Cinderella story comes history that most people don't know.
So my family bought the store. My mom was supposed to run it, and it was her thing, something she was really passionate about, and then she ended up getting diagnosed with cancer, and about 10 months later, she passed away. So in the months leading up to when she died, we were really focusing on finishing the store because we wanted it to be something that we finished before she died. It was definitely something she really had a passion for. She always worked in retail, and it was her dream to own her own boutique. So when the opportunity came for us to buy Colette, that was a dream come true for her. And then to be able to move it up here and make it her own thing, and everything in the store is something that she did, or I had some ideas my dad actually built, and one of his friends built all the fixtures and everything. So it's really all her and our family's vision.
Molly says the store wasn't the only thing her mom and her shared. Both had the same passion of style inspiration and shared each other's vision for Colette.
Definitely both shared kind of the same, like we both liked the brand Free People. We both loved that. We would both we'd share clothes, so that's kind of maybe weird, but not.
And for Molly, taking over Colette has not just provided joy, but a way to keep her mother's memory alive.
Yeah, I think by keeping Colette open and really like showing like her taste and still in the clothes and stuff is definitely a way to like remember her and keep her like here with us. So
visit Colette Boutique today, located at 316th West State Street. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Jenny Strauk.
Gullah Island is a TV show from the 90s aimed towards young children. The cast sang and danced to encourage children to think about things like eating healthy and problem solving. The stars of the show came to Purdue to share stories about their experiences and to discuss the real Gullah culture. Reporter Jasmine Edwards has more.
Today, I'm right outside of Fowler Hall, where just a few weeks ago, the parents from the hit kids 90s TV show, Gullah Island, came to engage audiences with facts and information not only about the show, but about the Gullah Geechee culture as well.
Hey there!
Gullah Island was a Nick Jr. TV show broadcast internationally from 1994 through 1999. Wherever we go, we are surrounded by people who are excited. We're glad to know who are excited. They tell us that they grew up watching us. So there's a whole generation of people who have seen us.
From Gullah Island, what I remember Binya Binya. I used to love Binya Binya. I remember they did a lot of songs, they did a lot of arts and crafts.
I was definitely excited, especially as a kid. I thought, it was just kind of a show, and I thought it was just a well-written script that they performed about. But when I figured out that they were, real people and this was their life, that they just opened up and shared with the world, it was definitely exciting to see them come, especially to Purdue.
Though the hit 90s kids TV show drew crowds from all walks of life, the culture that the show was based off of drew people as well, right here from Indiana.
A church that I go to in Crawfordsville, Indiana, we've made a trip, we go on a mission trip every year. We've done it for over 25 years. So that, back in 1980-something, 87, was our first contact with the island people.
We have enjoyed very much over the years learning about the Gullah culture, working with people of that culture and enjoying that, and definitely interested in learning more.
Though many people that grew up watching the show had no idea Gullah was a real thing, Ron and Natalie continue to engage audiences with song, dance, and poetry, telling the story of the Gullah Geechee people.
There is no real Gullah Island, but there is a real Gullah Geechee culture.
Having been here and learned about the actual culture behind the whole Gullah Geechee culture, it was something I had no clue about. I mean, as a kid, you watch Gullah Island, you think they just made up the word Gullah. It's not, you don't really think that it means something, but coming here and having watched them perform, I learned a lot, and it put the TV show in a different perspective for me.
I really appreciated just having the opportunity to see them perform live, just to see their story and understand their perspective on the world.
This is Jasmine Edwards reporting for Fast Track.
Up next on Fast Track, we'll look at a new research topic on campus, hear about an important issue to students, and visit Purdue's half marathon.
We'll also take a look at sports on campus. We'll be right back after this.
When students walk across the Purdue University campus, they're doing more than going to class. They're preparing to meet the challenges of a diverse and fast-paced world. Purdue students encounter ideas that span oceans and cross continents, inspiring new levels of innovation that will build a better future for people at home and around the globe. At Purdue, we're preparing tomorrow's leaders to deliver solutions for our changing world.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Purdue professors are researching preventative treatments for breast cancer. They organized a family-friendly event called Barnyard Bash to raise funds and awareness for their research program. Singyi Wang brings us there for more.
IBCN, aka International Breast Cancer and Nutrition Group, organized the second Barnyard Bash at Wheat Creek Orchard on September 8th to raise funds and awareness of breast cancer prevention research.
This would be a way to bring people out who enjoy having a day in the country and seeing some fresh, healthy food growing. And it will also help us to raise money to provide some research opportunities for students.
One of the things that we're very interested in doing is making sure that we raise awareness that prevention is in fact a possibility.
Perry Kirkham, who is also the co-owner of the farmland, provides this place for Barnyard Bash.
We feel like that the more natural things can be, the more happy people can be, and the opportunity to be able to understand natural things is greater in a natural setting. We wanted to make this such that families with young children would feel like this is a viable alternative for a Sunday afternoon for them to come out, partly because we feel that we need to reach out to the young mothers, in part because hopefully we can get them before breast cancer affects them too much.
Connie Weaver, the Associate Director of IBCN, said that all the funds raised from Barnyard Bash would be used to support cancer research and student exchange.
So we need a lot of money for bringing the teams together and doing student exchanges. There are some countries that are developing and they don't have the resources for doing research that America does. So most of our proceeds go to helping these teams be able to participate.
According to the professors, international collaboration is a very important factor for the success of cancer prevention research.
The relationship between gene and the environment is so important. Culture is important, ancestry is important, lifestyle is important. So we have to be culturally aware. And we want the students from different partner countries to be able to go to other countries. For this, there's no funds, there's no funding agency.
They have different rates of breast cancer. So we're trying to determine what about their diet might help them lower their incidence or risk it.
Among all of the cancer research programs at Purdue, breast cancer prevention research is a new area. International Breast Cancer Nutrition Project, supported by Purdue Discovery Park, tends to design a collaborative international effort to develop ways to prevent cancer.
I think the idea of providing research about primary prevention is a very novel thing to do. Not very many people do it. It's not easy to do, but it's time that we begin looking at things like that, because not that treatment for breast cancer is easy to do, but certainly finding out what causes cancer to begin with is something we must start now if we're ever going to find it.
When you do primary prevention, you do not work with cancer. You work with tissue that is normal but is at risk for cancer. So all the models, the cancer models that have been used for cancer research do not work for primary prevention. So we have to basically develop all these specific models for primary prevention.
Sophie Layev also said that preventive treatment will cost much less than traditional cancer treatment.
They will not be able to bear the costs of treatment of cancer because it's so expensive. They really want primary prevention, which according to the first studies by economists is going to be much less costly.
I'm Xingyi Huang reporting for Fast Track.
While Purdue is ranked in the top 10 for international students, some students feel minorities could be better represented. Fast Track reporter Anne-Cherise Taylor talks with Purdue students and faculty about diversity on campus.
The low percentage of underrepresented minorities has sparked some controversy as to why there are so many less African American students and Latino students at Purdue University.
Students express why they believe that there is such a big difference when comparing underrepresented minorities to white students at Purdue University.
It's like families who've had, previous generations going to college, it's a lot easier to get kids into college than for families who haven't had previous generations going to college. And I think, I don't know, maybe this is just a stereotype coming from my perspective, but sometimes I've heard that, fewer black families have so many generations in the past going to college. And so I don't know if that would affect it at all.
Vice Provost for Diversity and Chief Diversity Officer, Dr. Christine Taylor, gave us statistics and research behind this controversial issue.
Demographically, there's a smaller number of African Americans and Latinos within the state of Indiana, and because the K through 12 system that many students come from, the students themselves may not get the preparation that they need to be as successful as they can, or we would want them to be here. Where we're recruiting students from and those who get admitted on this campus, what we're seeing is a pattern that there are more students who are underrepresented who are applying and getting admitted from out of state as compared to in-state numbers. So you already have a differential in terms of cost because there's a huge differential there. But even if you stop to think about the cost piece, what we know from national studies is that when you begin to think about the college going process for high-performing students and high-performing underrepresented students, what the data shows us is that once a student identifies a quality academic program, the next determinant, the next factor that helps them to make a decision is what is the quality of the financial aid package.
Underrepresented minority students have been affected and have noticed the lack of diversity at this institute.
Being a black student here at Purdue, I feel that the percentage of blacks and Hispanics here compared to white students have dropped, or like, for instance, being in a classroom environment and it's not as many black students, I feel out of place.
I feel like people talk about there's like a big push for diversity, but I don't see a lot of diversity. I see a lot of just mostly white people everywhere. I mean, there are a lot of more and more Asian international students coming, but not very many African Americans and not very many Latinos compared to other places I've lived before.
Dr. Taylor explains the changes that need to be made in order to increase the amount of underrepresented minorities at Purdue University.
We're going to have to strategically say and find ways to garner more resources to increase our scholarship pools. If our goal is to make our campus a more diverse experience, and it's going to benefit everybody.
This is Ann-Cherise Taylor reporting for Fast Track.
Now let's check in with John Rawlings for another sports update. John, let's keep it brief about Purdue football, but go ahead and let us know what's happening with soccer and volleyball.
I will try my hardest, Ellie. But for Purdue Athletics, they had a solid weekend. The women's soccer team was able to defeat both Illinois and Northwestern at home. Maddie Williams had the lone goal in the bout, and the Boilermakers were able to post a shutout against Illinois, ending the Illini's 20-game scoring streak. Then on Sunday, the Boilermakers had a deja vu moment when Maddie Williams once again scored the lone goal in the match. They posted yet another shutout, and the soccer team will end their long home stretch against Nebraska this Friday at 7. The women's volleyball team achieved their first Big Ten win of the season with a sweep against the Buckeyes. However, they fell just short of the number 5 ranked Nittany Lions in an amazing 5-set match. Sophomore Sam Epinesa looks stronger than ever, and the Boilermakers look to pick up some more wins. Purdue looks to rally back this weekend as they play in Mackey Arena against Illinois Friday at 7 and Northwestern Saturday at 6. And as for football, they had a bye week, which means they've had plenty of time to prepare for Nebraska. Purdue's defense will have to find a way to stop the dual-threat quarterback Taylor Martinez and junior running back Abdullah Amir. However, Purdue will be interesting to watch this weekend because we will see a new starter, Danny Etling. The true freshman completed 19 of his 39 passes, had 2 touchdowns, but also had 2 interceptions in his debut. Because of his youth, I am expecting a few more picks to be thrown, but this guy does have a rifle as an arm. It will be an interesting game to see how comfortable he is in his new role. Although freshmen can lead teams to do great things, much like Johnny Manziel did last year with Texas A&M, I'm going to have to choose Nebraska to defeat the Boilermakers this Saturday. Back to you guys.
That's all we have time for on this week's edition of Fast Track. Thanks for watching. I'm Catherine Ducharme.
And I'm Ellie Thalls. Join us next week again on Fast Track.